Hi everyone, today we're going to learn about the anatomy of the U.S. Constitution. So first we're going to go into the preamble. You guys should have already watched this video, which is the Schoolhouse Rock that talks about the preamble and when it got developed and stuff, and this is the very first part of the U.S. Constitution. So going to the next page, we're going to read what you have already started to read, which is how do they govern the U.S. Constitution, and then introducing the preamble. So, the U.S. Constitution is a document that creates our nation's government. The contents of the Constitution create three branches of our government and gives directions for how the federal government works. It does this with a little over 4,500 words, covering only 4 sheets of paper. Although the Constitution was written in 1787, over 220 years ago, it still guides our officials in running the country today. It is the oldest written constitution in the world that is still in use, and you can actually see the Constitution at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. So now, introducing the preamble. So our Constitution is divided into 9 parts. The first paragraph is called the preamble. Its job is to introduce the Constitution, explain what the Constitution is meant to do, and describes the purpose of the new government. The first 3 words of the Constitution, the ones that we see really large that says "We the People," is a very important idea of self-government. So now we're going to go a little more into what the preamble is. We're going to read it, and we're going to break it down into words that we know and understand today, because we don't talk how people talked back in 1787. So right here we do have the preamble. It's right here, and then you got Article 1. So the preamble is the first paragraph in the U.S. Constitution, which we all just learned that. It introduces the Constitution and explains what it does. It describes the purpose of the new government, and the first words, "We the people," contain the important idea of self-government. So with that being said, we are going to read lines. I divided each line of the preamble into lines. This way, when we do break it down, it's easier to see what we're going to break down from first to last. So the preamble says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." So I want everyone to just think about that and what it means to them. What does it mean to you? What can it mean for your everyday life? What does it mean? So I'm going to show you what it means to me. We're not going to have the same thing, obviously, because we don't have the same thoughts about it, but we can have something similar. So when I break it down, this is what I got. So what do the lines in the preamble really mean? So for me, I put, "We the people of the United States, in order to perform a more perfect union." For me, that means self-government, not ruled by a king, or a better union of the states than before. Because we do know when they did create the Constitution, these people were running away from being ruled by a king and a queen. They didn't want that anymore. They wanted something of their own, and they wanted the rules to be fair. So the second line, "Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility." So for me, that means to create a fair legal system and keep things at peace at home. Meaning, we want everything to be fair for every one of the United States citizens, and then to keep things peaceful at home. Home meaning our country, which is the United States. So for the next line, I put this is the next line of the Constitution. It says, "Provide for the common defense, promote general welfare." So this basically, for me, it means that we're going to join together, defend against attacks, and help support each other's well-beings. So, we do have an army, and a navy, all our military, they all join together to protect us. And they fight different countries, and they make sure that they don't come over here. Now for the next line of the preamble, and ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. So, for me, this line means that to make sure that freedom and liberty is around not only today, but for our future generations. Because if we don't have freedom for our future generations, things are just not going to be okay. So now for the next part, do ordain and establish a constitution for the United States of America. So this line is pretty much saying that everyone who created the Constitution, they created it, they all agreed to every single article, every single rule, and this was the plan for their new government to follow. Now, going on and moving into the next page in your guys' little packet. So it says creating Congress, which is Article 1. So Article 1 is the first and the longest part of the Constitution. It creates the legislative branch of our government. Legislative means law-making. This section is the longest because people who wrote the Constitution believe that the legislative branch is the very important in the government and represents all of its citizens. So the members of the legislature and lawmaking body are responsible for turning citizens' wants and needs into laws. So for this part, it's basically saying that we each have someone that represents something. Everyone has a different role. So we do have Congress, and Congress is divided into two parts. So it's the Senate and the House of Representatives. And in Article 1, it describes how Congress should be organized and tells what each person must have to qualify for each position in law. So right here, we are just basically looking at all of the qualifications. So we have the qualifications right here for the Senate, the House of Representatives, and then the size of each, and then what they represent and their special duties, and then the role in lawmaking. They're both exactly the same. So a bill must be approved by both the House of Congress, by both houses. So the Senate and the House of Representatives needs to approve a law before it goes to the president and actually become a law. Now right here we have the United States Constitution. So in Article 1 it talks about the legislative branch. So Congress does make the laws. Article 2, executive branch, the president enforces the laws. And Article 3, the judicial branch, the Supreme Court interprets the laws. So right here is basically just a quick little chart on what cancels out. So the legislative branch, which is Congress, can impeach the president and the Supreme Court. The president can veto laws, appoint judges, and then for the judicial branch, they can do judicial review to the president and judicial review to Congress. Now going to the next part, powers of the laws. So in Article 1, it talks about the powers that Congress has. So they collect taxes, borrows money, pays debt, makes rules for how to become a citizen, which is very important. They regulate commerce, which is trade. Establish post offices, they create lower federal courts, punish pirates, declare war, support the Army and the Navy. They make any other laws that are necessary and proper. So now for Article 2, which is about the president and what the president can and cannot do. So in Article 2, it also describes who qualifies to be president, what power they have, what happens if the president misbehaves, and it also explains the Electoral College, which is the process on how the president is selected. So right here, we just have some stuff about the president's powers. So they are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. They represent the United States when dealing with foreign countries. They make a State of the Union address to Congress. They appoint ambassadors, Supreme Court justice, federal courts, and the cabinet members. They negotiate treaties with other countries, which is very, very important. So now Article 3 is all about judges, which is talking about the judicial branch. So it interprets which laws they decide. It creates the Supreme Court. authorize Congress to federal courts. It gives direction on what kind of cases the Supreme Court and federal courts can hear. It talks about how federal judges are appointed and not elected. And it also grants trial by jury for criminal cases. So right here we have Articles 4, 5, 6, and 7. So Article 4, you have the state's powers, what each state can do. They represent the laws. All states must have Republican representatives. And then 5, it talks about the changes. The Constitution is not set in stone. And then you have Article 6 right here. It's about federalism, the idea that a national government shares power with the state. And then right here we have the ratification. So it cannot be taken in unless 9 of 13 states approve it, which when there was only 13 states, so it did change a little bit. Now to the next one, we have the amendment process. The Constitution has only been amended 27 times in all of these years. So here's the purpose and what would happen, and then this is the ratifying process. So the state legislature vote goes right here, and then each state holds a special thing and they talk about it, and that's how that happens. And then right here. So what I want you guys to do is work on this. You're going to fill it out, and this is something you are going to turn in. So you're going to make a copy of this PowerPoint and fill it in. And I also want you guys to be taking notes along the side on this same PowerPoint as we go on and talk about it. So for right here, you are going to answer these questions and fill in the blanks. So what does the Constitution do? And it's just going by each article. You should be following along in your guys' PowerPoints to answer all of these questions. Something that's fairly easy. You guys will be able to do it. And yeah, that's it. We will be taking a test on this later, along with when we learn more information about this in person.